Yeah, crime, Miami-Dade.
Back in the office with our second interview with Mr. Bryan Calvo.
Thank you for having me.
How's everything? How's the campaign going?
Campaign's going well. We're pretty far along. Believe it or not, it's 100 days to election day. It's just
Ready?
about, yeah. So
Wow.
time quickly passes. So I guess I would call it we're in the final stretch.
Mm-hmm.
And thus far, we still have 1 week left for the people to be able to sign up. So right now there's 6 candidates running for mayor. Maybe more people add themselves, maybe some people drop out, I don't know, but we have about a week left.
I know you've been knocking a lot of doors because every time you knock on the door, someone DMs me and says, "Oh my God, I just met Bryan. He's so nice. He took the time to answer my questions." So I know you've been doing a lot of walking.
Yeah, we've been doing walking, different interviews, outreach events, just everything that a campaign needs to do and try to get the message out. Obviously, social media is another one. And we're just excited to finish, strong the last 100 days.
I know in the first interview you talked a little bit about yourself, but I wanted you to talk a little bit about yourself, your background. You were born and raised in Hialeah because according now to some candidates, you're not. There's another candidate saying that he is born and raised and you're not. So I was like, okay, but...
I'd love to see what evidence you have for that. I'm born and raised in Hialeah. My whole life. I grew up in the public schools of Hialeah. I went to North Twin Lakes Elementary, Palm Springs Middle School, and Westland Hialeah Senior High School, where I graduated. And then I got a scholarship, full ride, to go to Harvard. So I studied political science, economics, and I worked in the Trump White House in his first term. And then that's when I came back to Hialeah and I enrolled in FIU Law School. I did law school part-time in the evening. And during the day, I was campaigning for city council. That's when I won back in 2021. And I was a city councilman and also a law student. Then I eventually finished my law school, got my degree. I've been practicing as a lawyer the last 3 years here in Florida. And now I'm running for mayor. So that's in a nutshell.
I know everybody keeps on asking about the water.
Yeah.
There was an interview that you guys did. You did a live in that interview. 3 candidates were live and then 1 did a pre-recording.
Yeah.
One of the candidates were saying that if he becomes mayor, he'll sell the water management department, the whole thing to Miami-Dade.
Yeah.
That to me was a huge mistake because it's Bryan Calvo. We can all see now that she doesn't know how to handle the money. We're negative by a lot of money. And I think your answer was the best one. If you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, look, I could talk about water for hours, but I'll try to simplify it for people. There's a lot of reasons why the water in Hialeah is the most expensive, or one of the most expensive in Miami-Dade County. We're ranked as number 3 out of 39 cities, and more expensive, obviously, than unincorporated Dade. So the answer that you're going to hear a lot in the campaign from politicians is they're going to tell you, oh, it's the county's fault. It's the county's fault. The county raises our prices, so then in turn we raise the price on the consumer, and we're just in the middle. And that's why you kind of heard that idea from another candidate saying, hey, I'm going to give the water plant, give the water department to the county, get out and not be the middleman anymore, and that's what's going to provide relief. Funny thing is I'm the one who proposed that 3 years ago, and everybody was against that. And the reason
you had that proposal to sell it to Miami-Dade?
Yes, it was one of a list of 10 proposals that I brought up years ago when I first started in the council. And it's an option that was explored. Actually, there was a meeting that was held with the water department in Miami-Dade. There was already an analysis done. And basically the result of the analysis was this isn't really going to benefit people in Hialeah, right? All this work was already done. So we see that the county's a disaster right now.
Yeah.
$400 million deficit. You obviously have a mayor there that doesn't know, how to fix that issue. And, how can you say that a department right now in Hialeah, we owe $45 million to the county, okay, in water that hasn't been paid to them. We owe $42 million for the water plant in bonds. So we have a debt just in the water department of almost $90 million. How do you sell something that owes $90 million? How do you give that to the county?
Right. You have to make...
when they already have a $400 million deficit.
Yeah.
They don't want that department at the end of the day. The math doesn't work. It doesn't work. It sounds good maybe in an interview when people don't really understand the issue, but it's not a valid solution. And by the way, the moment, let's just say hypothetically, those debts were extinguished, we were able to give it to the county. All right, so now the county is in full control. And so if the county wants to raise the prices next year on Hialeah residents, we have no authority because we just gave away that department. Something similar already happened with our trash department. So solid waste in Hialeah used to be run by the city. There was a decision made years ago to get out of the trash business. And what we ended up doing is we privatized trash. What we do is instead of the city picking up your trash, we give a contract out to a trash company. They come in and they do the service. What happens? When there's a complaint by a resident, hey, my trash didn't get picked up.
Right.
What do? They don't call the company. They call City Hall. Hey, my trash didn't get picked up. And as the city, the response is, well, we don't pick up your trash. It's some company. You got to call the company, right? You got to report it to them. And the company at the end of the day is just there to make money. I mean, they have their contract. They get paid on the contract, and that's it. And so a similar situation is going to happen if you do give up water, because right now, you have at least it's not a good working customer service department, but you have a customer service department in the city that, if you have a problem, you would go there. If we give it to the county, you're going to have people going to downtown every time they want to fix something with their water. So it's not a valid plan. The plan that I've talked about, and this is the path forward, I believe, is you just have to improve dramatically what you already have. And what it is, it's a lack of leadership. That's what needs to change. How do you do that? Number one, water meters. We have 68,000 water meters in the city. We have 6 employees to read water meters.
Right.
Years ago, a decade ago, we had over 15, 20 employees to do that same job that now we have 6 people. Okay. It's not that people have gotten more efficient, right? Those workers have gotten more efficient. It's that they simply are not reading the meters. And so what they do is they send you a bill, and it's not based on the water you used, it's an estimate. So that's like comparing, let's say you go to the gas station, and instead of, having a meter counting how many gallons you put in the car, the person working there says, I think that car used 40 gallons, that's a bigger car, or I think that person used 10 gallons, whatever. And that's kind of, that doesn't work. That doesn't work, because then you might have a house where it's only 1 or 2 people living in the house, and they get a $300 water bill, right? And then you might have another house with all the efficiencies, whatever, 15 people living there, and it might get the same water bill that the house with the 2 people. Yeah. Right? Because it's all estimated. So what we need to do is very simple. We just need to read the meters. Yeah. Right? And how do you do that? Well, you need to hire more people. You can't have 6. You need the 20. And then you also need to start, bringing in the technology aspect, because FPL had the same problem. They had, employees get expensive over time. Employees have a bunch of benefits. There's turnover. So what did they start doing? They started doing the digital meters. So now in your house, you probably have a digital FPL meter. No one physically goes and checks how much electricity. It's all done by the remotely. And that's the same thing that can be done with water. The technology already exists. There's a bunch of cities across America that have already transitioned over to automatic. It's called AMI, automatic meters. And we do that in Hialeah. Now, it's not something that you do in one day. It's not something you do in a year. It's a very long process. It's very expensive. It would cost probably something north of $50 million in order to switch our meters to digital. That's a lot. So it's a lot of money. So short term, you need to hire the staff. And then long term, you need to get, this year we can only afford to maybe switch out 10% of our meters. We'll do 10% this year. Next year, we'll do another 10%. And you start with the areas that have, the more accessibility issues, like in East Hialeah, which are some of the older neighborhoods. Maybe in the newer parts of Hialeah, where the meters are more accessible, that's where you put the man staff. And little by little, you start getting on a process where, hey, at the end of an 8-year run as mayor, we could say, hey, we completely transitioned over to digital. Yeah. Now we're never going to have this problem moving forward. Yeah. Right?
So you saw the interview I did with Mayor Jackie about the water. Yeah. You know how many? Well, you don't know, but I got, because of her answer, more than I think 100 pictures of the water.
Oh,
Because she was saying that the water, it had no issue. It's not cloudy. It's not yellow. That the water does come a little bit cloudy, but you let it sit for a minute, and then you saw it, and it cleared up. It cleared up because of that. What she said, I got hundreds of pictures.
Yeah.
So obviously, it is coming out cloudy. Is there any way that it could be fixed? Because supposedly now it's not Hialeah, it's Broward. Some people say it's a pipe burst. Other people say it's because of the construction. Other people are saying no, it's been happening for months. She's been lying. So
kind of explain this to you. Basically, what we have in Hialeah is we have very old pipes. All right, these pipes are supposed to be replaced every 30 years. Okay, our pipes are 60, 70 years old.
Yeah, they even sent me a picture of the pipes.
Exactly. What you're supposed to do, again, is a capital improvement project. You don't fix every pipe every year, but you say, okay, this year we're going to replace this neighborhood. This year we're going to replace this other neighborhood. Many of our pipes are asbestos lined. You know, asbestos is a cancer-causing product. You have a lot of pipes that are lead-based. You know, these are old ways of construction. Like in any home, you replace these now. You have, you know, PEC, and you have other products that are, you know, rust proof. But what you're seeing with this water quality issue is that you have neighborhoods that literally, I mean, you when they replace these pipes eventually, they take them out of the ground. You see that it's all full of holes. You know, you see the rust all the way through the pipe.
Yeah, they sent me pictures like that.
You see that a 2-inch pipe might only have, you know, maybe a ½ inch of clearance for the water to go through. What are some of the early signs that you're being impacted by these old pipes? The first sign is low pressure, right? Especially during peak hours, between the hours of 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. when people are getting home from work, they're cooking, they're, you know, putting laundry in, they're taking a shower. It starts with low pressure, and then as time progresses and the problem isn't remedied, then you start seeing the rust, you start seeing that yellow water, you start seeing, you know, all these chemicals that are penetrating into the water. And by the way, the only way to fix this is going in, digging out the old pipe and fixing the pipes. We have in Hialeah, believe this or not, 150 valves, okay, main water valves that are inoperative, and the city knows about it. Okay, what are these valves for? Anytime that there's like a contamination issue, anytime that there's some construction project where you need to shut off water to an area, the city's supposed to go, they send the technician, they shut off this valve to not cross-contaminate the rest of the water. Okay, you have 150 of these valves throughout the city, which are in main arteries, that are not working. Right? So when you have these construction projects, you have all these issues, we're not able to, you know, kind of block out the area and prevent the problem from going elsewhere. You know, so it's ridiculous. We don't have a plan to fix these valves, right? The water department right now is working with a skeleton crew of very few trained personnel. There's very few people with licenses from the state in order to do this kind of work. So that water department, quite frankly, it's a disaster. It's a disaster. It is the #1 problem that we have.
I even heard that they close in lunchtime, like from 11:30 to like 1. There's no customer service. So people didn't know that. People have gone in their lunchtime at work to go talk to customer service, but it's closed. Are you willing to fix that?
Absolutely. We have to completely change the customer service of that department. We need more people. We need better service. We need to change a lot of the processes that they do is by paper. Still to this day, they don't have a digital way of doing things. For example, if you want to open up a new water account in Hialeah, you have to physically go in person, get a number, wait in the line, just to open up a water account. Right? If you open up a new FPL account because you move or whatever, you can do that online in about 10 minutes. Right? Why do you still have this old process, right? And that's what clogs the system in terms of, you know, the amount of personnel available. So you gotta automate that. You gotta make that online. It took me years. When I got in 2021, I said, hey, something as simple as why can't people just pay online and put it on autopay, right? Like how any bill that you get, you can do autopay. Hialeah, we didn't have that feature, right? And what ends up happening, people forget to pay their bill, whatever, so then their water gets shut off, or they incur like a fine for not paying their water on time. So I'm like, let's just set up auto pay.
Yeah.
Right? It took 3 years, okay, for the administration to do something as simple as auto pay. You know? Another thing, we don't have paperless billing. Any company out there in the world has paperless billing. We mail the bill. Even if you pay digitally, you still get a paper bill. Okay? So here's the question. Like, how much money do you spend on mailing, printing, postage, somebody putting all that together? Yeah. Right? I mean, we're talking about 68,000 water accounts. It's not like pennies. It's a real savings that we could have. And in any income, like, you know, your phone bill, whatever, if you switch to paperless, they give you a discount. They give you a $5, maybe $10. Right? You know, it's not a ton of money, but for some people, that are living on, you know, paycheck to paycheck, it could help. Right. And it would save us the money of having to put together the bill and all that. So I said, why don't we just do paperless, get the credit, and call it a day, you know? And basically, they spent like a year thinking about that, and then they said, yeah, we're not going to do it. Like, so these are the things that as mayor, you know, for me, it's not about getting in there and trying to figure out what to do. I already have all the list of things that we want to do for that department. It's just a matter of getting in there and doing it. Right. You know?
A lot of people were questioning me because, like, we've been talking to a lot of candidates in Hialeah, and I've been doing a lot of reporting in Hialeah. So a lot of the residents have been contacting me and wanted to ask you questions. They wanted to know, why did you leave as a councilman to become a tax collector? Why did you leave halfway return?
Yeah. So, kind of step back a second. A lot of people kind of know me because of this 911 issue. Right?
Yeah, so that was one of my questions. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how it started. So, give you an idea. This is my first year of my term in the city council. You know, I'm focusing on water. So my whole first year is focused on water. I actually convened what we called water workshops, where we brought in experts from the outside the city, and we sat down with the council, with the mayor, and we would get basically explanations on all these issues. That's where I presented all my solutions, and we went one by one and exploring all these things that I just talked to you about. That was my whole first year. At that end of that first year, basically none of the solutions that I proposed were implemented, and none of the solutions were implemented at all, right? So nothing was done for a whole year.
During that time, you were also suing Bull?
No, I'm going chronologically. Okay. So this is my first year. That's what I'm focused on. Okay. So my second year, I said, okay, maybe the water issue is like a sensitive topic. Let me start pushing other things. So I focused my second year largely on something called the CRA, which is a redevelopment thing. Basically, the point is we were able as a city to get money from the county, okay, take it out of the county's budget to create like an area in Hialeah where, you know, the streets are all fixed, the lighting's all done, the sidewalks are all repaired, we have more police, and it kind of creates like a mini area for growth, right? Community growth, community redevelopment, it's called. And I wanted to tap into those county funds. What that was going to do is it was going to bring Hialeah $4 million a year to use in East Hialeah and Southeast Hialeah, which is one of the oldest neighborhoods that we have, has the most issues and of any part of Hialeah. So I spent a whole year working that up. It was going to be a game changer for that area, and basically the mayor shut it down. So that's year 2 again. So now walking into year 3, we have the 911 issue. So how does that start? You have employees come in from the 911 department. They come to a council meeting, which is a public meeting. One of them takes the microphone and he says, hey, I work in the 911 department. I've been complaining for months. We're understaffed. We only have 6 people.
Oh, 6 people.
To run a whole 911 department. You know, we're working 16-hour days. We work Monday through Sunday. We don't have days off. We don't have PTO. We don't have anything, you know, because we are severely, severely understaffed. They even say, oh yeah, we're taking calls in the bathroom to not miss calls. I mean, that's how bad it is. Wow. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, how am I a councilman? And I've never heard of this. I've never heard this from the administration. I've never heard about this issue. What's going on here? The mayor basically at that time, he's like, get out of here. Like, you guys shouldn't have come to this meeting. That's totally improper, whatever. So I go and I say, okay, I'm going to figure out if this is true or not. So I go, I do a tour of the 911 department. I speak to the employees there, and I start asking for records. And I eventually get a record that says that the city of Hialeah had missed something like 30,000 calls in 1 month.
Wow.
30,000 calls in 1 month. I mean, that is like a dramatic figure. And I basically go to the mayor and I'm like, hey, what are we doing about this? And the mayor was like, they're exaggerating, nothing is wrong, that department is fine. They're basically saying, like, we're not going to do anything. So I go with that information, I go to the press, I go to the council meeting, to my fellow colleagues on the council, and I'm like, hey, look, this is the document I've gotten, this is the official record from the city that was given to me, saying we've missed 30,000 calls. We already know what the employees came here and said. By that time, several residents had already complained and gone to the media outlets complaining about, similar to this water issue. Right? It's very similar. A lot of complaints, there's facts backing it up, but when you ask the mayor's response is, no, everything is fine. So I'm like, what is going on here? And they doubled down. They said, everything is fine. There's nothing wrong. Basically, let's move on. Let's talk about something else. And I said, no, we can't drop this. This is literally, frontline service, 911. I mean, come on. And so I said, look, I'm going to open up my own investigation. I'm an attorney. If you guys don't want to play ball, I'm going to do it myself. I'm not going to just let this go. And so that's when I submit a full list of every single record that I wanted from the city related to this 911 issue. And basically the mayor's decision at that point was, we're not going to give you any record. We're not going to give you anything. Even though you're a council member, we're gonna send you a bill, okay, thousands and thousands of dollar bill, and unless you pay this bill, we're not gonna give you any record. And by the way, even if you do pay, it's gonna take months for you to get the stuff.
Oh my god.
Okay. So that's when
I'm glad you're clearing that out because I didn't know this part.
Yeah. So that's when I said, okay, we're gonna have to escalate this. So that's when I do the lawsuit, and I do the lawsuit against Mayor Bogle.
You didn't do it for the city of Hialeah?
No, not against the city.
Okay.
It was a lawsuit, me as a council member, against the mayor. As the mayor, right? Not individually, but as the mayor. And it wasn't for any money. The lawsuit's purpose is for documents. So it's something called injunctive relief.
Okay.
Where you're asking the court to say, okay, judge, please order him as the mayor to give me the documents from the city as me as a council member. And that was the premise of the lawsuit. So we filed that lawsuit, goes to the judge, and then we get a hearing date. The hearing date was like 3 months away. So in those 3 months, what does the mayor do? He calls a special meeting of the city council, and they passed a law, what we call an ordinance, in Hialeah, saying, where the council voted to approve this, saying that if a council member asks for a record, the mayor has to approve it. If the mayor doesn't approve for you to get the record, then you can't get it. That's the law that they passed, right? I voted against it, and six of my colleagues on the council voted for it. It was a 6-1 vote. And so they passed that law in between me filing the lawsuit and when we had the hearing date. So when we get to the judge in front of the hearing, the judge is like, look, I kind of see it your way, but they passed this law, right? Saying that, the mayor doesn't okay it. So, you have the mayor, who's the executive, saying one thing. You have the legislative body, which is the council, agreeing with the mayor. So the judge is like, there's nothing for me to do here, right? That's what they decided.
Yeah.
So basically, that's when the lawsuit gets dismissed, and I'm not given the records, Luckily, the public pressure had been so high at that moment in time that a couple things, tangible things, did occur. Number one, the city was forced to invest in a 911 tower. So this was one of the issues with these missed calls was not only because they had few personnel, but also one of the antennas had issues, one of the 911 antennas. So a new antenna array was installed at a cost of $3 million to the city, but that's, obviously helped the connectivity issue. And then the second thing that happened is, because this was so much in the press and social media and the news, we were getting something like 3 to 5 applications for 911 operators a month, like very, very low, right? We started getting to the point where we were getting almost 1,000 applications on a weekly basis for that department. So the staffing issue was able to get solved because you had such much more applicants, you know? So, you know, as I understand it today, I mean, the department by far is not perfect, but they do have a great number more of employees. I think they're close to 20 employees up from the 6 that they were at, and that tower was replaced. So that issue was sort of able to get solved in a way, you know. But around that time is when I said, okay, this is now my 3rd year in. Remember, my term is 4 years as a council member, so I'm in my 3rd year when this is all kind of happening, and I say, okay, there's an opportunity here because of these constitutional offices that are going up to ballot. I'm not really, because of all the problems that I've had, all the friction with the mayor, I'm not able to get much done in this case, right? Like, yes, I was able to do stuff on the 911, but I already talked to you, I tried doing stuff on the water, couldn't get it done. Tried doing stuff on the development aspect of sidewalks.
Yeah, and you didn't have
streets.
support from the rest of the...
I had no support from any other colleagues on the council. And so it was a decision of like, how can I best serve the community? Maybe I can best serve Hialeah and the rest of the community through this new office, right? Through the constitutional, because, you know, there was a lot of issues with the DMVs. I had a lot of good ideas on how we could fix the DMV issue. And obviously taxes was one of my big items as a council member, where I was consistently year after year the only person that voted against raising taxes in our city when I was 6-1, right? 6 of my colleagues voted raise taxes, I was the only one voting again. And then everybody says they're Republican, right? So I said, you know, taxes has been a big issue. This is this new office of tax collector. I think I can do a lot of good here. So, you know, obviously it was a hard decision, but I made the decision to run for tax collector. And as part of running for tax collector, there's a law that applies, which is called the resign to run law, which basically says that in order to run for a different position, you are forced to resign your current position. That applies to everybody in Florida except for the governor. So a lot of people remember DeSantis ran for president, but he was the governor. He didn't have to resign because that law didn't apply to him as the governor. But to anybody else under the governor in Florida, any other elected official, if you run for a different position, doesn't matter what that position is, you still have to resign, right? So I had to put in the resignation letter, and I ran, and then it didn't work out, right? So I come up short. I came like 2,000 votes, 3,000 votes short in the primary, but in Hialeah, which is the place that obviously I represent, I was able to win every single precinct. So we had 43 voting precincts in Hialeah. I won all 43 of them, right? So that was last year. And then after that election, I kind of started thinking, well, like, you know, what's the next step for me? Do I want to continue with my, you know, legal practice? Do I want to get back into politics? And, you know, I was thinking about all the issues that we're having in Hialeah. And I said, you know what, I think, you know, this is the time to go for the mayorship.
You were the first one.
I was the first candidate. First candidate to file, first candidate to announce. And I said, look, I have all these ideas. I couldn't get it done on the council side. It's a waste of time for me to go and run for city council. It just is, because even if I win the election, I'm not going to be able to do anything, you know? But as mayor, I can get these things done. It is a strong mayor form of government. And I said, you know, that's it. That's what we're doing. That's
what I like about you. That's why we always say that you're like our top candidate in Hialeah, because you have something that I am like with that too, that we confront people. You know, we're not the nicest people because, or we're like me, they already called me communist like 3 times because I have confronted people when they're doing a bad job. That's part of being a public servant. You have to call out what's best for your residents. So that's what I like about you. And I'm glad that you classify it. You know, you told everybody what happened with the lawsuit, because when the other candidate is running for mayor, I always post about him that, to me, that's wrong. Because his family is suing the city of Miami.
For money. for money,
for
right?
$12.7 million.
That's the distinction. Even if I won my lawsuit, which I didn't, it was gonna not even $1.
Right.
Right.
You did it for awareness to bring out the corruption. He's doing it for his family.
Right.
It's like his dad and his brother are suing the city of Miami. He's running for mayor. He's knocking on people's doors saying, I'm running for the mayor, but with the money that's coming in from the city of Miami, this is what I'm going to use it for myself, for my campaign. So to me, that's wrong that he is running for mayor. To me, it's completely wrong. So when I post about that, I do get a lot of comments saying, but what did Bryan is doing the same thing, so I'm glad that you.
Yeah. By the way, that lawsuit is long gone, long over. I'm talking about what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I didn't sue. This is very important. I didn't sue Hialeah, and I could have if I wanted to.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be very mindful that I didn't want to cost the taxpayer any money. Right. All I wanted was to be able to do my job as a council member, get the documents that I still feel to this day I should have been able to get.
Of course.
As an elected official.
Of course.
And one of the things I'd like to do, getting into the mayorship, is we got to eliminate that ordinance that was passed. I mean, because
for sure,
it's not about me or anybody else, but in the future, if somebody comes in with another problem, they should be able to get the information they need to do their job, right? I mean, that's why they were elected to that position, whether it's council, whether it's mayor, right? So we want to make sure that we can do it in a way that it's permanent, so that nobody can come back later and switch it back. We want to make sure that every person will have access to documents. And this kind of segues really quickly into this idea of like, what changes do I want to do for the structure of Hialeah's government? This is one of them. Another one that I'd like to do that I feel very passionate about is districts. Because in Hialeah, we have 7 council members, but everybody represents the entire city. So,
I've noticed that.
So in the county, you have districts. In the city of Miami, you have districts, right? Other cities have districts. We in Hialeah, it's everybody for themselves.
Yes.
So who does this benefit? Well, it benefits people that are in power, right? Because they're the ones that are known. They have name ID. They have the ability to fundraise. And if you're just somebody that, okay, I'm passionate about politics. I want to run and see if I can do this thing. You are now confronted with a huge beast, because the city of Hialeah is 300,000 residents. You have 120,000 registered voters. Unless you have a ton of money,
and they do go out vote. They don't go to board meetings, but they do go out vote. So a lot of people DM me saying, "Why are you doing cafecito time now? And you didn't do it when you were a councilman?" Like, Hialeah people like to interact with their politicians, but they don't go to board meetings. That's what I always say. I always fight with them. They always say, "Don't worry, dígame suave." They like to connect with you guys, but when it's time to go to board meetings, they don't show up. Less than maybe 10 people go.
It's maybe 5.
Maybe 5.
It's the same 5 people.
So now they're asking, a lot of people are asking me, why are you doing cafecito time now and you didn't do it before?
Yeah, I mean, look, the honest fact is, like, it's really expensive to send these mass texts out. And that's the way kind of that you get people to come. Because you can post on social media, but like, unless you have a huge following on social media, typically you're not going to get a lot of people. So, the way you're able to do it is sending text messages, inviting people to come, and that costs money. And basically, this is kind of like an interesting fact about Hialeah's politics is the council members actually don't get any resources from the city. So you get elected, you win the job, right? But you don't have any resources. Like, you don't have a budget for your council office where you can say, okay, this is the money I have to do these kinds of events.
Oh, not like Miami-Dade or City of Coral Gables. No. They do have a budget.
In Miami-Dade, the commissioners get $2 million. Okay, to do all their events, to put together parties, breakfasts, cafecitos. They have food giveaways. Like, they do a bunch of stuff. Right. And that's good because people see them that they're active. City of Miami, they also have a bunch of millions of dollars that they have access to. Hialeah, you know how much we have? $0. So unless you basically pay for it yourself, like, that's the only way that you could do an event. So now, when you're in a campaign, you have donations that people help you out or whatever, and you can do the events. But when you're in the council, at least in Hialeah, you don't have the funds to put together these things.
Correct. But a lot of people do like to see you more active in social media. And lately you've been posting more videos and you've been getting a lot of views and a lot of comments. I see everything.
Yeah.
So they want you to be a little bit more social. So are you willing to be posting?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we are, and now we have a better team.
You do have a great marketing team now.
Because before I was just kind of on my own, and I'm kind of clueless with social media. But I am good at the how to run a city and figure that stuff out. So yeah, definitely. Look, I mean, as mayor, I think you could do way more because you have the resources to do it. You have a full staff to help you and do constituent outreach, and I want to do all these things that you're saying, right? We want to bring City Hall to people, because this concept of like the City Hall where people go, it's kind of like outdated now with social media, with technology, right? You're able to bring the service to people directly to their door, and so we have a lot of ideas that we want to do, but it's something that's going to take getting into the mayorship to be able to
do. Not post every day, but at least once a week, do videos.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So yes,
Agreed.
yes,
I commit.
Okay, you hear it? Because I get a lot of questions about that. Also, I wanted to ask you. We talked about this before.
Yeah.
We know that Bobo left with a pension. You're willing to do an audit on Bobo, or you're just gonna close that chapter and move on?
No, I don't think we should close the chapter. I think we need to understand what happened. And I think, to the extent that we need to get paid back as a city, we should. I do not agree that the city spent $45,000 for a farewell party.
Right.
I think that's ridiculous. $22,000 in Churraco. They had ice sculptures, the whole thing. And
it was a gala.
It was a gala, and it was a lunch. And $45,000. Hey, that's another 911 operator. That's a police officer, right? That's a firefighter. And that's all yearly salary, and they spent that in a lunch.
Yeah.
Right.
Because when I asked another candidate, he said, "Why would I waste my time?" And he thought I was gonna agree to him. No. So when I told him, "No, you should," everybody was like, "Oh, you just destroyed his campaign."
No, you.
But I think it's fair. I think as I've been visiting Hialeah often now. I feel like it's never changed. Yeah. It's not updated.
Yeah, I mean, look, water is obviously a huge concern, but I would say a very close second is corruption. And corruption looks like a lot of different things, right? That's an example. We have the example of the police chief, the former police chief. He took $2.5 million.
Yeah, that just came out in the news.
So it comes out in the news, but then the current interim mayor gets asked, okay, so this happened, like, what are you going to do about it? And basically the response was, FDLE did their investigation, there's nothing for us to do, like, let's just turn the page. And like, no, that's not true. This guy was the chief of police, he was working in a police department with 200 other police officers, and this happened over years. You're telling me nobody else knew anything?
Right.
I mean, seriously? That's a big issue. That's a big issue. And we should do a full investigation internally as a city and figure out what went wrong, what procedures do we need to put in place to make sure this doesn't happen again. I mean, the reason you go back is because you want to, number one, bring accountability and transparency, and the people that need to get punished should get punished.
Right, I agree.
But number two, you need to create the protocols so that moving forward, this doesn't happen again. Because if not, I mean, you're just repeating history over and over again. So we need to learn from those incidents, right? That's how any company works.
Correct.
Right? Well, look at, I'm a pilot as a hobbyist. Anytime a plane goes down, they don't just say, all right, well, it went down, well, hopefully we'll do better next time. They do a full investigation, and they create procedures moving forward to prevent accidents in the future. And that's why, accident rates have gone down. It's the same thing with corruption, right? That's how when people say, I'm going to eliminate corruption, this is the way you do it.
So I have like thousands of questions. We're gonna get into tomorrow. Okay. So I hope you cancel knocking doors. Sorry, people, don't DM me. HOA. We have a huge problem with HOA in Hialeah. Are you willing? I know you told me as an attorney, and now you could be as the mayor. You could do an investigation on HOA. Yeah. So I know this issue very well because in my practice as an attorney, I sue associations all the time that have these issues where the people on the board steal the money, or maybe it's the property manager that takes the money, or maybe they have, again, corruption, but it's not city corruption, it's in these entities where
the person that's a board member gives a contract to their friend or primo or whatever for millions of dollars for landscaping and or asphalt work or the roof, and then that work never gets done and the money's spent. And now with the real impact to people is that they're losing their condos, they're getting foreclosed on, or they can't pay the special assessments. I mean, it's a really, really big problem. And in Hialeah, we have such a high percentage of people that live in condos. Yeah. So again, what I said the first time, which remains to this day, is we want to create a task force within our police department so that if you have a complaint about something that's going on in your HOA or condo, you have a direct point of contact in the police that will investigate these associations, go through the books, go through the bank statements, all the financials, and figure out what's going on. And if there's a crime there, we need to prosecute that crime and we need to prevent it. We've already seen that this has happened in a lot of the associations down south in Kendall. You know, this same stuff is happening in Hialeah. The difference is nobody's investigating it. Right? And that's what we need to change.
Another question. If you become mayor, will you be willing to work with ICE?
So we signed as a city the ICE agreement, the 287G. Basically, we are forced to work with ICE. And let me tell you, as an attorney, we will follow the law, right? We're not going to skirt the law. We're not a sanctuary city. The law is the law. I'm not a congressman. I'm not the president. I don't get to change immigration law. The law is the law. We're going to follow the law. Now, I will tell you one thing. We have a very small police department for the number of residents that we have. 300,000 people, 202 police officers. The reality is, we'll never be able to do like, whether it's me or any other mayor that gets elected, we'll never be able to have City of Hialeah police officers doing raids or doing anything like that. They're gonna have to continue doing their job, which is, traffic stops, if there's a homicide, investigate a homicide, these financial crimes that we're talking about, right? The kind of like everyday stuff. And then ICE, which is, you know, their main goal and their main purpose is to enforce immigration law, will be operating in that space as they do in any other city. Right. So, you know, again, we're going to follow the law. The law is the law. If the law changes, you follow the new law. Right. But we're definitely not going to have a policy that we're going to say, oh yeah, we're just going to ignore this. Right? So.
You were when I was asking you, when I was asking I sat down with some of the candidates, most of them didn't know what it is Cuba Max. You were the only one that answered correctly what Cuba Max and your plan was. Is it the plan still the same if you become mayor?
Plan is still the same, absolutely. We want to have a dedicated unit to investigate these money laundering activities that are happening in our backyard by the Cuban regime. We saw the other day, ahora para el 11 de julio, we saw the protests on Cuba Max. I mean, it is an open secret, to anyone that Cuba Max is tied to the hip to the Cuban dictatorship. They have, in Cuba, using, state vehicles, state gas, to operate, to do their delivery service. How can you go to Cuba Max, put some money for your family member in Cuba, and within 10, 15 minutes, that money is there, when you supposedly have this Homes Burden Act and all these protocols in place to prevent, the movement of money and these other things. So the only way that happens, like anything that happens in Cuba, is if the Cuban government says that it's okay, right? So they're operating in our backyard. They just opened up since our last interview, they opened up a new location on 49th Street. So, they're increasing, they're expanding, and they're expanding in the city that outside of Cuba is the city with most Cubans in the entire world, not just the United States. So, I think it's completely irresponsible that we let it get this far. And this is something that we want to do like from day one. We want to make sure that we're investigating these companies. We have a lot of authority over them as a city because we issue the building permits to them. We issue the operational licenses, the business licenses. And like any business that is doing illegal activity, we have the authority to shut them down. Right. And so we're going to do everything by the book, but we're going to make sure that, we investigate this company. And if we find the proof that I think everybody knows exists, then yeah, absolutely. We're going to shut them down. We're going to make sure that they're not going to operate, at least in Hialeah. That's our jurisdiction. Yeah. But I would like to see, a collaborative effort maybe with other cities in Dade County. Maybe this is something that we could take all the way to the Miami-Dade County government. You know, it's totally unacceptable that they continue operating.
I know. So I do have some questions that people did send me.
Yeah.
One of them was, I don't know, there's a whole bunch of them. Are you willing to do a full debate with all candidates?
So I've been calling for a debate for a couple of weeks already. I want to do a debate. I want to do it with everyone, whether it's the interim mayor, Tundador, whoever else is running. But let's get deep into the issues, right? Let's do it in an organized fashion, and I want to do it now, right? Why do we have to wait until closer to the election? Let's just get it over with. Let's do 2 or 3 debates, right? It shouldn't have to be just one conversation. But I'm pushing for a debate, and I want a debate.
Oh, okay. Second question: what is your vision for your future for the 2 terms? If there's a meeting 8 years in total, what are your top accomplishments that you want to do?
Well, we want to definitively fix the water issue. That's number 1. Number 2 is we want to turn Hialeah into like a city of the 21st century, because Hialeah still looks very much like the city when I was growing up as a kid, you know, back in the 90s, right? We want Hialeah to be a place of attraction, that we're open for business, that we have the entertainment, that people can live, work, play in Hialeah, that you don't have to go anywhere else. We are positioned to do so geographically for all the cultural reasons. There's a lot of people that want to invest in Hialeah, but we just need to do it the right way. Right now, the city's kind of stuck in the past.
Yeah.
So I think if I look back 8 years from now and I say, did I do a good job? And I look back at this interview, I would say, you know, I want Hialeah not to be the butt of the joke, right? Like, oh, you go to Hialeah. No, I want Hialeah to be, oh, you know, Hialeah is the place to be at. So that would be a success story.
Wait, are you willing to bring back the warehouse? A lot of the warehouses, they're gone.
Yeah.
They went more to Medellin.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do want to bring that. I actually toured one of our Hialeah factories just yesterday. And we have a very, very exciting plan that we want to bring. I don't want to share it just yet because I know other people that start copying your idea. But we want to do something to bring back factories to Hialeah, absolutely.
Nice. Also, who would you like to see sitting there with you as a councilman?
So this is
That's
interesting.
a tough question.
Yeah, this is interesting because we're going to have 5 council seats up for grabs this year. That's never happened before in Hialeah's history, right? So the people that get elected now, I mean, it's going to be a totally new council. It's not necessarily the people that were there when I was there, that they were voting to raise the taxes, to raise the water. No, this will be more than likely 5 new people or maybe three new people or whatever it is. So it's a time for change. And what I'm looking for when I'm saying, hey, the people that I want to support in the council, I'm looking for people that have the same vision as me, you know, that want to change in the city, that want something better, that they're just not there to do, you know, to just vote down the line and just do whatever the mayor says. You know, we need independent voices. Some of those people may agree with me on things. Some of those people may disagree, but that's what creates the democracy, right? So yeah, we'll be announcing soon. We want the registration period to close, so there's still about 2 weeks left for the registration period. And then once
So you're gonna announce who you support?
Yeah, absolutely. Once we see who the candidates are, and you know, there's a lot of shuffling and moving parts. But I think there's a lot of interesting people that are running, really good people, and then there's a couple people that probably shouldn't get elected, but it's a mix, and so we'll make that announcement.
So another question: if you care so much about Hialeah, why walk away midterm? And you can't criticize Mayor Bobo for not finishing his term when you didn't finish yours. On the council leadership means seeing through, not just making noise, and dipping out.
Yeah, so 2 things on this. Number 1, the mayor is the chief executive. So he is the running the ship, and he's the only one running the ship because he's also the strong mayor, so he's the city manager. A council member is different. A council member is a legislative body. So you're one of 7. You're a group of people. And the reason that you leave is because the state law forces you to leave. It's not because you want to leave necessarily, but you're forced to leave in order to be able to run for the different position. By the way, I was running to continue elected service just in a different position. Mayor Bobo left to make more money in the private sector, right? And not, you know, go into a different position. You know, so that's a big distinction there. The second thing is that, you know, when I leave as a council member, you know, what do? Is I'm coming back. I'm coming back to the city to work on these ideas, to serve the community. And, you know, I don't do it taking a pension. I don't do it, you know, with all these kind of bad acts that happen on the back end of Mayor Bo. So I see it as two completely different things. Obviously, you know, the critics are the critics. But mind you, every single person running against me that is a council member now that's now running for mayor, they've all had to resign as well. So technically, everybody's resigned at this point. So
Because of that law that you explained earlier.
Yeah. Jackie had to resign as interim mayor. Fundador had to resign now as well as council member in order to run for mayor. So unless you're somebody that's not in office, you will always have to resign.
Right.
That's just the way it is.
So now I have another list, but this one's it's concerned citizens. You actually knocked on that person's door, and she wanted to talk to you, and I think you wanted to knock on everybody else's door. So she's like, I didn't want to bother him so much, but I'm gonna send it to you. So when you sit with him, you can ask him. So one of her concerns is that in Hialeah, cops love to park under the expressway in Dayland Mall by Hobby Lobby, not to be seen. Is there any way that she can report? Who she needs to call? She says there's like a lot of cops that hide under there and they're not doing their job. The traffic there is insane. So who does she need to does she need to call the police to complain about them, or can she call you to complain if you become mayor?
Call me. I don't want you to have to go through any hoops. Call me directly. I've given out my phone number pretty much to everybody in the city at this point. So I'm going to be taking a lot of calls, but you know, I want to be a mayor that leads from the front, you know, and to the extent that I can fix the issue directly, I'll do so. This complaint about the police officers, I hear this a lot in the community. This is not the first person that says it. It's kind of interesting because the city, I remember when I was in the council, we invested millions of dollars in GPS trackers for each of the police vehicles. So we know from police headquarters at all times where every single officer is live. And so if there's an issue where, you know, there's a meet out spot where cops are hiding or whatever, like that's an enforcement issue from within the police department that needs to be addressed. And as I already highlighted to you, I mean, there's changes that need to be made in that department for sure.
She says that around her neighborhood, there's people insulting them all day. They park in the sidewalks. They don't pay rent. Who does she complain about all this?
So, man, those are different points. The parking on the sidewalks is something that I hear a lot. That's something that we want to address. We have a whole plan for Hialeah beautification. One of those beautification items is, you know, we want to do the street planning on the main arteries, make it look a little bit more like the Miami Lakes or the Coral Gables. But also it's the quality of life. If you're parking on the sidewalk, you know, I talked to an elderly lady where she was walking along the sidewalks. There was a car parked, so she couldn't walk through there. So she had to walk on the street. And when she went to walk on the street, she actually fell and broke her hip.
Oh.
And elderly lady, now she's, you know, basically in a wheelchair because of this issue. So it does affect the quality of life. And back in the day in Hialeah, if you would park in the sidewalk for more than 30 minutes, somebody would come and they would fine you and you would have to move the car, and it kept, you know, order in the city. You don't have that anymore. And those are the things that we want to bring back to make sure that we have that nice quality of life, because we're paying so much in taxes. We might as well get the quality, right?
Yeah. She said the light on West 18th Ave and 16 heading north doesn't have light to make a left on the 6th. It causes accidents and honking all early hours in the morning and afternoon. Who can she call to complain about that?
City Hall. Right now, nobody's going to take your call, but that's going to change after November. Absolutely.
She says that their neighborhood is full of chicken and they're always fighting. And they're sick and tired of the chickens.
So Hialeah used to have, back in the day...
we get this a lot about the chickens.
The chicken issue is a big issue, yeah, and also the peacocks. But we used to have a truck that would go around the city picking up the chickens and stuff that would take them down south to like the Redlands or whatever. There was farms where they would take them in. So we want to bring that program back to, you know, clean up because I mean they're overpopulating for sure, and especially in East Hialeah, they're moving slowly towards the West Hialeah, but we want to clean up, you know, all that livestock and take them down south so they go to a farm and not be on the street. By the way, it's dangerous too. You can have car accidents. Yeah, of course.
So she takes her kid, to Matter Academy that is in Hialeah Gardens to drop off her kid
Yes.
that the school is supposedly a 5-minute drive.
Yes.
But no, it takes me now 45 minutes to 1 hour
Yeah.
to drop off my son at school because there's craziness, no cops, and the control is nonsense. As a mayor, how can you help her to make traffic a little bit easier for her?
Yeah, that one's a tough one because that matter that you're talking about, that's actually a different city. That's Hialeah Gardens.
But she lives in Hialeah.
She lives in Hialeah. She takes her kid to Hialeah Gardens, but the traffic control belongs to Hialeah Gardens, unfortunately. So it's outside of the jurisdiction of the city. We could do stuff on our end, but it's going to be very limited. But it's an issue that, traffic flow just generally is an issue. And so one of the things that I want to prioritize is we spend every single year $18 million as a city on public transportation. And you don't see it.
No.
You don't see it. The buses, every time I look inside one of the buses, they're empty. I've ridden the buses. It takes like an hour and a half for the bus to come, by the stop. So what ends up happening, and then you're sitting in the hot sun, there's no cover, no shade. If it rains, you get wet. We need to make big investments in our public transit to lend the possibility, hey, if you're staying within Hialeah, maybe you can grab the bus next time. The city invested in this program called Freebie. They have it in other cities as well, but it's costing the city $55,000 a month. Okay, $55,000 a month to do Freebie, and all they're moving is something like 1,000 or 1,500 people a month in this system. So you're talking about that every ride, the city's paying like $10 or $15 a ride for Freebie. So what I'm saying is we're wasting the money.
Yeah.
We're wasting the money on public transit. We need to fix that. And I think that's really the only way that you can tell somebody tangibly, hey, traffic can get better if you get people to buy into using public transit. And then obviously doing, some street improvements, because we have a lot of streets that they're very outdated, they're very narrow, and they need to be widened. There needs to be money spent into that. But right now we don't have a plan. Nobody has a plan, right? And that's what we need to change. That's what we need to create. Hey, we're going to widen these boulevards. We're going to make these changes, and little by little you can start having an improvement. Because right now, it's like it gets worse every single year, and there's nothing being done to make it better.
So this is back to the HOA. She says, in the HOA in this city is getting out of hand. I used to pay $75 back then, and now it's less than a year, and it went up almost $100. We are now paying $340, 12 units, no pool, no security, no electric gates. Everyone wants to get what they want at their home or outside. So why are we paying so much HOA?
Yep. It goes back to what I told you. There could be, I'm not saying that there is in her specific one, but there could be an issue of, people being greedy, taking the money. And so that's why you need that task force to investigate these HOAs. And once, I think you might not even have to get through all of them. If you just do one or two, I think people are going to be put on notice.
Right.
Hey, we're checking. We're checking, and I think it's going to bring real relief to people. Another idea that we have, and this one's a little bit more abstract, is the biggest issue with a lot of these HOAs in terms of cost is like the insurance, getting insured. And so one of the ideas that we've kind of playing around with is, what if you create some sort of collective insurance where many condos can kind of pull money together and have like a collective insurance for these associations in our city. It could bring costs down, but it's something to explore.
Right. So the last one, because there's a lot. The people who live in apartments across, which is on West 16th Ave and 16th Street Park on our block, the trash is everywhere. Chumeria at all hours. Yet if the trash is in front or directly at our door, we get fined and have to remove it ourselves in these hours. What can we do? Who can we call to complain about the trash and the chumeria at all hours?
Yeah. So this is one of the issues that I told you before, which is the city of Hialeah privatizes trash. So again, the complaints go to City Hall, and City Hall pretty much throws their hands up and says, this is the private company. Now, what can we do? Look, it's probably not likely that we're going to be able to bring back city-run trash because it's just been too long. But we can negotiate with other companies. We're not subject to just the company that we use now. And maybe other companies can provide a better service, and it's something to explore. So if we can get a better service for about the same price, or maybe even a lower price, then I think we should be open to changing companies and providing, more cleanups to eliminate some of these trash issues. And then on the other part of that question is you have sort of the code enforcement part, which again goes back to beautification of the city, right? You have the blocking of the sidewalks, you can get a fine. If you throw trash, you should be able to get a fine, but you need these people to be out there. You need these officers of the city to be out there and actually patrolling these neighborhoods. Because if not, you get what you're referring to right now, which is the person that didn't do anything wrong, gets penalized, and the people doing something wrong don't. And it makes the city look ugly at the end of the day. And that's what we want to prevent.
So the last one is just my advice to you is that we do want to see you more socialized and social media and more, maybe not cafecito, lunchtime, something.
Yeah.
You promise you're going to do that, right? Because a lot of people want to get to know you.
Sure.
Because like I said, residents of Hialeah like to know their politicians, but they don't go to board meetings.
Yeah.
So a lot of people told me, no, I'm going to vote for another candidate because once a month we drink coffee together. So you are willing to...
Yeah, and I've actually been doing the coffee.
I know you did one.
Weeks.
You did one. It was
2 weeks.
Oh, every 2 weeks?
Yeah, we've done three at this point.
Oye, no invitan.
Yes. I will.
Okay, thank you. Okay, no, or pass us the flyer if you do, and
Yeah.
we're willing to post it in our page because a lot of people from Hialeah are following us because of the famous interview with Jackie.
Yeah, let's do. Let's set it up.
Okay.
Okay.
So thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you.
I know you're gonna go back knocking on
Gotta
doors.
go back out there.
Miami sounds, news, business, accounting, your entire city, politics, arts, and community. Everything that's happening in your area.
Get to know, learn, and experience your county. From the local to the federal level. Cream,
The voice of Miami-Dade, your podcast you can't miss.